Alrighty, howdy friends and neighbors. Today we're moving on to the key of G. Another super common key. You'll see that once you start getting out and playing more and more, a lot of tunes, a lot of songs that people sing, they sing out of G. Very friendly key, super blues oriented. G is good. Anyway, and the other good thing about the key of G is that you pretty much know it already. If you remember back whenever we learned the key of D, or the scale for D major, well, we'd already learned the scale for A major, and it was just one note different than A major. Same thing applies here. When you learned the scale for D major, you learned the scale for G major except for one little note. So here we go. And here we're just going to start on our bottom G string and work our way up. Okay? Here we go. And again, I'm going to emphasize that spacing pattern that we talked about before, because it works on every single major key. It will tell you the scale if you apply that pattern. Alright, here we go. So first we'll just go through and name the notes. G, open G, A, B, and here's the difference. Instead of reaching up here to play a C sharp like you would have out of D, just scoot it on back. And that gives a C. C. Then move it on over to D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, all that except for the C, and so you're coming back up on that difference. Here's a C after the B, so in D you played it, you made a big stretch here, a whole step. For the key of G, boop, you scooter next to that B note, B, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. And then you can go back down. And so I'm going to talk through that pattern again now, and the spacing pattern of what at least what I've taught my boys. Big step, little step, and then big step, big step, little step. Another way to say that, more musically accurate: whole step, half step, and then whole step, half step. And all that means is this. So let's start here on a G. We move up to an A note. See the space in between the A and the G. Now there's a note that hides here, right? We could go G, G sharp, and then up to A. But we skip this G sharp and we go straight to an A. G, A. So that's a whole step. On the fiddle we make another whole step. We go from A, not here, but whoop, here. That's a B. So whole step. What comes next? Half step. And the half step on the fiddle is touching. So B, third finger basically touching the second, gives us a C. And then after we've done whole step, half step, well, here come 3 whole steps in a row. So C to D. And that's a whole step if we want to use our pinky finger. You know, it's not here a half step. You got to push it on up, and that's a whole step. And we can also catch that same note here. Sorry, should play it in tune. So we can catch that same note here on the open D string. Okay, so that's whole, and then same spacing on the D. Whole step up, stretch that second finger, whole step to the F sharp, and so that's 3 whole steps. You went whole step up to D, whole step up to E, whole step up to F sharp. That's your 3 whole steps. And then all you gotta do, the last little bit, a half step. And that's G. Gets you back around to G. And so that's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. If you want to think of it that way, in G, and it's super helpful to think of it in terms of numbers. Actually, I think in music, well, no, it's just so much more useful to think of it in terms of numbers than solfege, which is the do, re, mi, the name for that style of thinking about organizing music. But just numbers. 1 is G, 2 is A, 3 is B, 4, fourth note in the scale is C, 5th, D, 6th, and E, 7th, F sharp, 8th, G. And now, the other thing that you should do, since we talked about arpeggios, is we can also figure out if I'm just playing a standard G chord, like a kumbaya kind of, campfire sort of G chord on a guitar, what notes are going to make up that G major chord? Well, those notes are going to be the same ones we play in our arpeggio. That's what defines it. And so that's going to be the same way it was for D. The first note, the third note, and the 5th. So in G, what is that? That's G is 1. We count up to 3. 2, 3. 3 is G, A, B. And then we count up to our 5th. So B is 3, C is 4, and 5 is D. Now, and there you see another glimpse into why it's nice to know the numbers of these notes. Because no matter what key you're in, no matter where you start, you know that if you play a 1, 3, and a 5, it's going to give you this sound. That's a G is a 1, B is a 3, D is a 5. Back to G. G is 1, B is 3, D is 5, G is 1, B is 3. Now that's not the exact same pitch as, say, the arpeggio out of D. If we do that, it's like, okay, different pitch, but it's the same space, it's the same sound as. obviously, if you watch these others, one of my favorite little melodies is the Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka. It's just gorgeous, right? And so here that uses an arpeggio. And if somebody's like, I want to play something out of D, right? And you know that this melody starts on a 1, well, what can you do? You can go, you know it's starting on a 1. You know it is. And so out of D, let's say you know it starts on a 1 out of D. And you can go, okay, well, what's my 1? It's a D note, right? Okay, I know it goes, this melody is just an arpeggio, and I know it's a 1, 3, 5, okay? Okay? Now let's say we want to move it over to G. Well, if you know your 1 out of G is a G, and you know your 3 is a B, and your 5 is a D, and your 7 is an F sharp, and your octave up is just the G note, then you already know the pattern, and you already know how to play this melody. You just start on your 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 7, 7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 5. And you can do that with all melodies. And I'll just show you an example. We talked about You Are My Sunshine. We'll just do the first little bit. That's You Are My Sunshine. We already talked about how we can use just that pattern to jump over to another string, like start on an open G. If we start on an open D, that's a D out of the key of D. We can also jump over to the G string and start there. You are my sunshine. And that's G. But we can use this information of numbers, of notes, to get to other places, start from other places on the fretboard, and still have confidence that we're doing the right thing. And here's my example. So I know that this pattern is 1, 1, 1, 2, 5. Sorry. 1, 1, 2, 3, 3. You are my sunshine. Great. Well, let's say I wanted to start it from this G. Okay, this is a G note. I can start it from there, but I can't use that exact same finger pattern. That because I'm starting from a different place on the fretboard. And so the way you do it, though, is I know that this G is a 1. G is a 1. And I know 2 is an A out of G. And I know a 3 is a B. So all I have to do is play 1, 1, 2, 3, 3. And it just keeps on going. 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 2, 3, 1, 1. And it works that way for every single song on the planet. And that is the beginning of transposing songs on the fly. is learning to think about which notes to play if your first note starts on a G, how to make what notes to play then. Or if your first note starts on a D, which notes do you play? If it starts on a C, if it starts on an E, if it starts on an F or F sharp, anything, what notes do you play? And depending on the scale, you know the numbers of the notes on the scale, and that will never change. You might change names of the notes, but the numbers that you will use will always stay the same. I hope that helps open up that idea a little bit. We'll certainly talk a lot more about it and have a lot more examples of what it means to transpose things from one key to another in hopefully ways that make it less complicated rather than more complicated. A lot of this is kind of like there is a whole lot of upfront work, say like memorizing, your alphabet or learning to count, all the way up, or maybe some more complex things, learning your multiplication tables, memorizing those, something like that. But once you get that in your head, it makes the other things and the more advanced things so much easier, and you start to figure out how you can use this theory stuff practically to make this easier for you to play. All right, well, thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next video.